Do I believe that men can be feminists? Let's start. So, I used to be a very hopeful person when I was younger. Younger meaning 15, 16, 17, even 20, 21, 22. My idea of what I expected men to be, especially men of my generation, the men that I was going to grow up and be friends with and fall in love with, my idea of what I expected them to be came from the books and the movies that I watched and read, and it came from my own sense of what I thought was common sense. So I believed if a thing is wrong for me, if it's very obvious that something is wrong or unjust according to me, it will also be very obvious for the other person, whether it's a man or a woman, that that thing is wrong and unjust, because they can also imagine, what if this was happening to me? Any human being can do that, right? So I used to feel like, of course, men in my generation, 100% they can be feminists, and the ability to understand and spot systemic oppression is not dependent on gender. So you don't have to be a woman to understand the oppression of a woman. You don't have to be a black person to understand the oppression of a black person, etc., etc. Even though, like many other women, like most women of my generation, we grew up seeing a lot of violence perpetrated by men, several men in our lives, whether it's in the news or it's in our own houses or it's in our neighbor's house. We were always aware of multiple men at the same time, not just one, perpetrating some kind of a violence or harm. uh, but for me, I didn't take it very personally for the longest time. Call it optimism, or maybe I just felt like with education and with everything, it's all going to change now. When we grow up, the men that we are going to be interacting with are going to be men who deeply understand that the woman is not another. The woman is not inferior or different, or you are supposed to treat her with the same respect that you would expect to be treated. This is all me in my childhood, and me up until very late actually in my life. But if you ask me today, I will say I don't believe that a man truly can be a feminist, or truly can even have an idea of what it means to be a woman in a society that operates on the belief that the default is man. The default is man. Already, just by existing as not a man, you are already the other in that society. The subliminal messaging is everywhere, in your literature, in your movies, in your workspaces, on the streets. Wherever you go, the primary gaze is male. And the gaze of the man does not look at you as an equal, even. It is always instructing you. It's always telling you what you should be to be liked by them. One of the examples that I cite, not only because of what I have seen growing up, but also historically, now I come to realize so much religion is also rooted in patriarchy. Gautam Buddha, as I have mentioned in one of my other videos, he was the awakened one, he was the enlightened one. He had found within himself compassion for all of humanity, and yet his compassion for women still fell short. He still refused to ordain women in the order of his monks for several years. Even when women were ordained, the female monks were very clearly told that they will always forever be subordinate to the male monks, regardless of how many years they have versus the male monk in the order. Now, the fact that female monks were told they are subordinate to the male monks Whether this came directly from Buddha himself or it came from later monks is debatable. Some historians say that Buddha himself didn't say that. It came from the monks who came after him. So we are not sure about that. But it is highly verified that female monks were not ordained for several years. Buddha refused, even though I think his mother or some very important female figure in his life, she was requesting Buddha again and again, please start an order for women. We also want to walk on your path. And Buddha refused again and again and again. So, if a man who has found this infinite compassion for all of humanity still has very limited compassion for women because of what he has been taught women are or women stand for, then it is a waste of hope to expect from regular Joes, to expect from regular men to have empathy for what it entails to be a woman, and to just believe that a woman is not an extension of them. A woman is not someone who's created to be used as a utility, as an add on in a man's life. So that the man, being the main character, then can go on and live his life. It is this idea which is so obvious to me all my life. I'm a person, I know because I can feel it. I don't feel within me that I am smaller or less important or my experience of life is less valid. So it's very obvious to me that I am a full person and a man is a full person, and we are not side characters in each other's lives. It has been unbelievable to me how revolutionary this idea sounds to most men, not most, all men. All men. In some ways, they believe that women are created to serve them, women are created to become a side character in their story, a good side character, maybe a side character that they treat well, but still a side character. And they feel so angry and they feel so enraged when women say that, hey, we are people. The simple fact of you stating that you are a human being in various small ways, a woman saying she doesn't want to change her last name after her marriage, a woman saying that she wants to keep working, or a woman saying that she doesn't want to have children, or a woman saying that men should not be allowed to just walk into your life and then create ruckus and then walk out as if you were just sitting there for them to use. These very basic human things, these things sound revolutionary to men. You become a radical feminist. You become a radical feminist just by saying that I am a human being. I am not less or more than you. So, even if you are a feminist, kind of in the middle, you have to keep saying, yeah, I'm equal to you, but just a little bit less. Then, yeah, I'm equal to you, but just a little bit less. You have to keep reinforcing their superiority and their domination, and you have to show them, prove to them that you believe that they are good, better than you in some ways, for them to even consider the other feminist views that you have. Otherwise, they'll just reject everything altogether. This hopelessness of me not believing that a man can be a feminist is not coming out of nowhere. It is coming after a lifetime of me observing men and interacting with men and being friends with them and sitting on the same table as men and hearing them speak about women. Hearing these men, because you become kind of invisible if they are used to being around you, or they don't want to impress you particularly, so then they will start speaking as if you are not there, and you get a sense of how men speak. about women when women are not there, and sometimes these are the same women who these same men were begging to give them a chance, like, please come on a date with me, please do this, please do that. And then when this woman is not around, you hear how these men speak about these women, and it's not flattering. It does give you an insight into how they think, but it opens your eyes in ways that it might not have been possible for you to see. So, after a lifetime of me seeing men, I don't genuinely believe that men can have genuine empathy for women. This is a, I want to say, a canon event, like what is it called? Something that happens, like you get your periods when you're 14 or 15, and then you start high school, you start college, and then rite of passage, this is rite of passage. So this is a rite of passage in every woman's life, that finally you get a man, either as your friend or as your romantic partner, and or as a content creator or as a writer, someone you follow, and you finally feel like you have found a man who deeply sees women, who deeply understands women, and who is deeply empathetic to the experience of women as human beings. I'm not saying be empathetic to our experience that are only ours. For example, periods, giving birth, whatever. As human beings, he is empathetic to your experience. You feel like you have finally found a man, and then eventually you come to know he is still just a man. He is still misogynistic. There is still a very big gap of empathy between him and you, and he is neither willing to cross that nor aware that that gap exists. But he gets to feel that he is the liberal feminist man because the law for men is so low. The lowest men can go in society in causing harm to women, it is so low that even if you are here, you get to feel like you're a liberal feminist man. You don't even have to be here. You don't even have to actually practice equality. While still being a man, you don't have to become like us. But just viewing us as your equals, you don't even have to be here. You can be a bit here, you can hang out here, and you are still a great man because the low is so low. And every single man who you respect throughout your life, at some point as a woman, it is revealed to you that that man is still just a man. Yes, he may not be causing harm in ways that the worst men are causing, but some of the beliefs that he has are the same beliefs about women that those worst men have, that go out and commit those crimes. And this is a realization almost every woman comes to. When we are younger, we gaslight ourselves because we are also raised in ways that we want validation from men, especially the men that we respect. So we gaslight ourselves and we are like, no, I'm thinking too much. This is not like he's right. Maybe I am being too much. Maybe I am radical. I'm a radical feminist. But eventually you understand, no. There is a huge empathy gap between men and women. Some of the most progressive, most liberal men that I have met, that I was in awe of, and I still appreciate, they have told me things like, well, abortion is ultimately murder. Or things like, well, a man fumbles around many women before he finds the one for him, you know. So you should just accept it. That's what men do. So, as a woman, essentially, what this person was saying is, you should accept that you will be collateral damage for men who you are not the one for. So just accept that damage and move on and keep moving on until you find a man who doesn't treat you like collateral damage because you are the one for him. and then be eternally grateful that you finally found someone. I have never met a man who I view as someone who looks at women as truly as a human being, giving them the same kind of empathy, extending the same kind of empathy to a woman that he would extend to a man. Extending the same kind of empathy to a woman that he would extend to a man. I have not met such a person. Not to say they don't exist, but I think it's very, very, very rare. And certain experiences that we have as women are so peculiar. I'm not sure if it's even fair for us to. No, it is fair. It is fair. I'm not sure if it's realistic for us to expect that men will have an idea what the fuck is going on. For example, it is a well known, well documented fact throughout the world that in schools, girls outperform boys. Almost every country, every region of the world, girls outperform boys. What happens after school? Nobody knows. But suddenly these women become less focused, less ambitious, blah blah blah, all of this. In my experience, I can tell you what happened. I think eventually all the teaching caught up with me. Since my childhood, I was given this message that the best thing I could be was being loved and chosen by a man. That's the best I could be. And this message is from your family, from movies, from literature, from your society, from the way you see your mothers and your aunts and your grandmothers behave in front of their partners. In everything, it's coded with that message that you, like, the best thing you can be is be chosen by a man. And then you hit puberty, and suddenly you have your own desire for someone to choose you, right? A lot more than you had as a child. And then you get all this extra pressure because you understand that, because also the culture encourages you to look at everything about you, from your body to your personality, from the eyes of a man. That process is so exhausting. You learn that men like thin girls, but these days you also learn that they want girls with bigger boobs and bigger butts. And you learn that men like girls who don't cause them too much headache, don't cause too much headache, don't be too argumentative, don't have very stern views, be fun, be chirpy, be cool. You are loaded with all this information on top of a culture that is encouraging you to believe that the ultimate achievement you can have is to be loved by a man. And then when I used to go out on the street, I remember in India, suddenly I became conscious of the fact that it's not a safe place for me. There is always a possibility of aggression, there is always a possibility of violence, there is so much fear, so much struggle. Like when I step out, it just felt so much safer for me to be quiet and to adopt the idea of being a woman that women should be like. And then when you date and when you get into relationships, you get so obsessed with being chosen and being chosen over and over and over again, because your identity is coming from that you are a ball of anxiety. You are nothing but a ball of anxiety. Whereas men, even though they may not be very, very serious in schools, they often become more focused after a certain age. They become more success driven. They become more competitive because they have been told always that that is what defines them. Not if one woman wants them. No man cares if one particular woman wants him. They want women in general to want them, and that comes to them with success or money. This is such a peculiar experience as a woman to understand after a certain point that if you fight, if you act like a strong person, you will always keep fighting, and it is so exhausting. And a lot of the girls unconsciously decide to just give up that fight and to be like, it's alright, I am going to be subservient, I am going to do everything that you want me to do. Men have no idea of this experience. That's why when we grow older and we become so serious about our identity changing with respect to a man, most men they're like, what's the big deal? Why are you making a fuss? It's not about identity. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. It is fucking deep. It is very, very, very deep. And even most of us, even though we experience it all our lives, the only time we start becoming conscious of it is by the time we are 30 or 35. We are not even conscious of how deep it is, how deeply it is ingrained within us to at all times be pleasing to men and to live for their validation. Another thing that you find in women is a lot of women don't report abuse. They sometimes are abused or they are assaulted by their own boyfriends and they still go back to the same man. And as I was growing up, I used to hear a lot of men being like, I don't understand why women do it. Like, why the fuck do you go back to, or why the fuck do you not report abuse for 10 years, 15 years, and then after 15 years you suddenly remember that you were abused? Yeah, because she was not accepting it to herself, even to herself. Because you are living for the validation of this man. You are living to be chosen and to be loved. If you accept that this, and you are taught to deny your own experiences, because I was like that, like for a long time in my college when I had a group which was predominantly of men. I would not speak up a lot of the times, even when I wanted to, because I didn't want them to say, oh, you fight too much, you are too much of this, you are too much of that. We are so trained to deny our own experience because our experience inconveniences men. We train ourselves to deny our own experience. So if a guy looked at me funny on the street, I would just say to myself, no, 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 I'm overthinking. He definitely was just looking elsewhere. I'm overthinking. What men do to us, we start doing to ourselves. Now, this is something which I don't think a man can relate to, because men do not tolerate discomfort as a rule. They do not equate tolerating discomfort with love. The moment you make them uncomfortable, they are going to do something about it. Women are trained to tolerate discomfort. It's not just about murders or crime or severe psychological abuse. It's every day in where you are, the training for you and the training for a man is so different, and almost everything taught to you is taught with the intention of making you more pliable, making you more, so that a man can change you, mold you, fix you in ways that are the most convenient for him. I remember when I was very young, I had heard a woman say that you don't know how men are. Like, I have seen men walk out with their mistresses um, as their wives were laying on their deathbed with a terminal illness or something. And I used to believe that it's not really, this must be like a very small percentage of men, like 2-3% men must do it. I never believed that something like that is possible. Like, at least wait for her to die, at least have that respect. But I have seen with my experience that is the normal man. That is the normal man. They are not told as much as we are told that they have to care about people outside of themselves. I have seen several times in my life a friend break up with his girlfriend of 8 years and then go to the next girl 2 days after on a date and fall deeply in love, and then not even like just wants to erase this previous person out of his memory so that he doesn't have to feel guilty. I have seen this so many times that I understand that men are not trained to think the way we are trained to think. And most of them don't even view us as full humans. Forget about viewing us as equal. Well, even if they do, they are not comfortable with us being equal. So I don't think that a man truly can be a feminist. I will always look at it with suspicion. I will always look at it with like there's something there that I don't know. Um, yeah, never say never. And it's not like all women are feminists and there is a perfect feminists anyway. But I have lost faith in men being able to see women the way the novels and the books taught me that men see women. So, yeah.